Good morning, friends. My name is Darren St. George, and welcome to another Sal St. George program. If you've been with us before, welcome back. It's always a pleasure to see you. If this is your first time, welcome to the party. This is how we celebrate every Monday morning by celebrating entertainment's leaders, legends, and icons, and this morning is no exception. Today, Sal is taking us on another one of his virtual road trips, this time to the Donna Reed Museum in Dennison, Iowa. That's right. We are also honored to be joined by Mary Owen, Donna Reed's daughter and a member of the board of directors, and Robert Lyons, a co-vice president, also on the board of directors for the Donna Reed Foundation for the Performing Arts. I'd also like to give a thank you to our cameraman today. We have Aaron Larson is going to be behind the camera, making sure our virtual road trip runs smoothly. Please be sure to keep your camera and your microphone on mute throughout today's program. Thank you. If you have any questions on Zoom or Facebook, we're monitoring the chat. Please add any questions that may pop into your head into the chat window, and we will be more than happy to share them with Sal and Mary and Robert. Next Monday, it is finally here, our one-year anniversary Salathon. That's right, it is our 24-hour telethon to help raise money for wonderful celebrity museums just like today. So you're not going to want to miss it, filled with tons of fun. You're going to sign on and we'll be there for 24 hours next Monday. But let's get to today's program. As always, we have John Higgins behind the scenes helping out. And without further ado, Sal, Dad, are you there? Hey, Pop, are you there today? Let's take a look. All right, there we go. Now you'll be able to sign on. I saw I had you on mute. There you go. Give it a shot. Good morning, Pop.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome everybody to this very special day. We're really excited about getting this underway, so let's bring our special guests right in and start this extravaganza.
Yes, Mary, are you also there?
Hello, everyone.
Yay!
Yay, Mary's here. Good morning, Mary. Mary, I want to clear this up right away.
Okay.
Your mom's name in It's a Wonderful Life was Mary. It has nothing to do with your name, correct?
I was named after my great-grandmother, Mary Mullinger.
There it is. There it is.
Okay, because I know somebody was going to ask.
Yes, I do get asked that a lot, and now you know.
Good.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Darren.
I'm sorry, before we begin with the tour, I see Robert is outside. You can already see the building in the distance, but we have a virtual tribute to Donna Reed that we want to. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Doing well today. Everybody can hear me?
Oh,
Got a microphone unit today.
Yeah, fantastic. That's perfect. We can hear you loud and clear. But I think we would like to begin with our virtual tribute. What do you say? Are we ready for that?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get started.
Do you remember how you first fell in love with Donna Reed? You may have first encountered Donna Reed in her classic Christmas film, or one of her critically acclaimed war movies, or as America's favorite supermom on her television series, The Donna Reed Show.
Well, you know that father-son shindig the Boy Scouts had last night?
Yeah.
Well, I was the only father there whose legs got whistled at.
Hello, I'm Mary Ann Owen. I'm Donna Reed's youngest daughter. Today is Mom's 100th birthday. She passed away in 1986, but I'm here at the beautiful Donna Reed Theater in her hometown of Dennison, Iowa. The theater is where Mom saw her very first movie. It's part of the Donna Reed Foundation for the Performing Arts that preserves Mom's Oscar-winning film career and her pioneering work in the early days of television. The Donna Reed Foundation here in Mom's hometown of Dennison, Iowa, is helping inspire and connect fans, creative professionals, college interns, and community volunteers across Iowa and around the world. This year, we look forward to sharing some amazing milestones that will not only surprise fans, but also inspire anyone who's trying to navigate the challenges and opportunities of following a professional dream. Let's start by taking a look back. Donna Reed started out as Donna Belle Mullinger, the oldest of 5 children on a farm just outside of Dennison. At 17, she planned to become a teacher, not a movie star. But once in California, she found new opportunities that changed the course of her life. By the time Mom was 25, she was under contract with MGM. She had appeared in 20 films. Some included household names like Mickey Rooney, John Wayne, and director John Ford. Hollywood changed Donna Belle Mullinger's name to Donna Reed, but changing her name did not change her Midwest personality. In fact, her solid sense of self provided an unmistakable energy that made her stand out in every role she played, including a fan favorite, It's a Wonderful Life.
Mary, who's down there with you?
It's George Bailey, Mother.
George Bailey? What's he want?
I don't know. What do you want?
Me? Not a thing. I just came in to get warm.
He's making violent love to me, Mother.
This year, the Donna Reed Foundation is celebrating the 75th anniversary of the classic movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Here in Donna's hometown, we are already planning a special celebration for December, and we are inviting fans from around the globe. We are actively looking for volunteers worldwide who love the film and want to join us remotely to be part of this historic celebration about Donna Reed's role in the Frank Capra masterpiece.
I was really excited to learn about Donna Reed and who she was on and off the screen during the Donna Reed Foundation internship that I did last year. And I thought it was just really awesome to hear how she made sure that her voice was heard during the time that women's voices still weren't heard as loudly as they should have been. And so for me, Donna Reed is much more than It's a Wonderful Life.
Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life has become a huge Christmas favorite, but it's also a classic film that emerged from World War II. 2 more iconic war movies, They Were Expendable and From Here to Eternity, that featured Mom's Oscar-winning role. During our biggest war in history, Mom reigned as one of America's sweethearts and part of the pinup culture. She received bundles of mail from GIs around the globe, and she took their messages to heart. As part of her personal effort to support the troops and the war effort, Mom wrote back to every soldier who wrote to her. For the rest of her life, she kept more than 350 letters from those World War II soldiers.
Mementos from the 1940s are some of the treasures that the Donna Reed Foundation is featuring this year, with special programming in the upcoming months. They include History 101, our Veterans Day tribute, and a World War II film event featuring the 1953 classic From Here to Eternity.
By 1958, Mom had appeared in over 40 films. She had acquired enough experience in the entertainment industry to recognize a unique opportunity that existed for her in a new medium called television. My mom and dad became industry pioneers when they established their own television production company in the late 50s. My mother broke barriers at the time as a working mother who not only worked behind the scenes on a national hit television show, but co-owned the property she helped create and headlined her name. Ironically, she has often been characterized as the ideal stay-at-home mom, but in real life, she was a working mom in a male-dominated industry. For 8 years and 275 episodes of The Donna Reed Show, she juggled raising 4 young children, building a family-owned company, and transitioning almost seamlessly on screen from America's sweetheart to America's best-loved mom.
In the 1950s, when the Donna Reed Show first came on the air, and for several years after that, women's roles were still very circumscribed in television sitcoms, especially the domestic family sitcoms. And they were always in the home, and they were always expected to be wearing dresses. Housewives almost never did manual labor, right? And you see Donna Reed like putting up wallpaper and really working in the house. Whereas in the 50s, a lot of the sitcoms always presented the housewife as living almost a life of leisure. So you'd see June Cleaver arranging flowers, or, there's one episode where she dusts the ketchup bottles, right? So it's really interesting there too that Donna Reed she works. She's not afraid of getting her hands dirty. All these things that she did that were quite innovative and groundbreaking, she really didn't get credit for.
I think some people misunderstand the Donna Reed brand, because Donna Reed became a shorthand for the perfect mother, which is true. On that show, she was, this ideal mother, but she was also a little, she was also an activist. She was also a fighter. She was also pulling the strings. She was a co-producer behind the scenes, but even on the show, she was getting involved, and she wasn't just come home to mom baking cookies and taking care of things. She was pulling all the strings and taking care of everything. People who just discount it, the Donna Reed brand, as the perfect mom in the apron and with the freshly baked brownies, are forgetting about her activism and her being an early producer of a TV show. I mean, she was really a lot more than just that Donna Reed caricature of the perfect mother.
I joined the Donna Reed Foundation, and when I first heard about her, I really didn't know much about Donna Reed except the movie It's a Wonderful Life. But through working with the wonderful staff and amazing team, I learned so much more than I ever thought I would about this person who influenced so many lives and yet doesn't get enough credit for all that she's done. I'm currently working on a documentary to show her feminism and the way through these films and through her TV show, she really broke the barriers and to set a precedent for today on what we value and see as normal.
Donna Reed lived a wonderful life that touched the hearts of millions of fans around the globe. Our goal at the Donna Reed Foundation is to not only preserve the memories of her work and of her life, but to help others understand that it is possible to follow your dreams with integrity, courtesy, equity, and humanity. Each year, we provide performing arts scholarships for young talent. If you want more information about our scholarships or how to participate in our programs, please visit the Donna Reed Foundation at donnareed.org for more information.
Thank you all so much for joining us today to celebrate the anniversary of my mom's 100th birthday. We have created a celebration page that features special guests that offer additional insights into Mom's life and her career. Happy birthday, Mom.
What a wonderful tribute. Wonderful tribute.
Thank you.
Many people do have that impression. She started out as the girl next door, and then she became everybody's favorite mom. How do you remember her?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, because she was really my mom. I mean, you all know her as Donna Reed, but she was my mother. So she tried very hard. I mean, I came along just before the show, so I had nothing to do with her film career and wasn't around for that, but she really tried she was very passionate about her privacy. So when she came home at night, she really tried to not be involved with the business, although that was hard to do because when your name is in the title of the television show, the wheels are always turning. And of course, my father was in the business. He was the principal architect. He was the producer of the Donna Reed show. So it was their collaboration that created it. So it was kind of a stressful environment, honestly, to grow up in, because, people would drive by the house and knock on the door, and everywhere we went, people would ask for autographs. So it was weird, but I mean, she really did try and be a mom. She helped me with my homework, things like that, went shopping together.
When you say people would drive by, you were living in Beverly Hills at that time.
Yes. So,
And who was your next door neighbor?
Well, up the street was Phil Silvers. We would go after dinner, we'd go walking in town in Beverly Hills, and my dad would buy a paper at the corner store, and we'd run into, all kinds of people. And it was really nice, Burt Bacharach, But, it was like a little village. I don't know. It wasn't like it is now. What can I say?
Right. To you, they were just neighbors.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when did you realize Donna Reed was more than just your mom?
So in college, one of my best friends, there was an art house in LA, the New Art Theater, and they were showing It's a Wonderful Life. In those days, it was hard to see old movies because there was no cable, there was no, VHS, that kind of thing. And so he said, you have to see this movie. Your mom's incredible. And I thought, okay, her job was on TV. And so that's when I got it, when I saw It's a Wonderful Life for the first time, because I'd never seen her in a film before. And then I was amazed because, she was like 25. And I thought, wow, she's pretty good.
I just realized we've got Robert standing outside there.
Yes.
Really, let's get started.
Yeah, we have him standing there waiting. Robert.
Hi, everyone.
Take it away, Robert.
All righty. Well, thank you all for being here today. Again, my name's Robert Lyons, and I'm happy to take you on a little bit of a walking tour of our beautiful museum and theater today. You saw it in the video already, but this is, we got some folks waving at us from up above, but this is the beautiful Donna Reed Performing Arts Center. It started life back in 1914, so it's 107 years old as the German Opera House.
Looks good for its age.
Property. Oh, can they hear me still, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So what it used to be is there was a dentist and a doctor upstairs, and then the Hollywood Bake Shop was originally the Candy Kitchen. Mary has a few stories I think she'll be sharing here of that. And then our museum on the bottom left here was actually a tailor shop in its first, when it first opened up. So this has been a mainstay of the community for quite some time. We're happy to be in here. What you'll also find around the entire town are these handprints. And Mary, I think you want to talk a little bit about the Donna Reed Festival. This is just an example of one of the many. I think there's about 70 or so handprints around downtown. But Mary, would you like to tell them a little bit more about the festival? And we'll get across the street here so you can talk more about Donna.
Sure. Great. Thanks, Robert. So when my mom passed away in 1986, she bequeathed her Oscar to her hometown, Dennison. And so one thing
Mary, if I may interrupt, I'm sorry. Could you just refresh your camera? Just turn it on and off. It just looks like it froze for one moment. Yeah. Here we go. Oh,
is that better?
No, still off, but that's okay. Go ahead, continue with the story, and we'll see. You can fidget with it in a little bit.
Let's see. So we all got together. Yes, good. Hello. Because this is a Zoom world we live in for the moment. Right. So we all got together that summer to memorialize Mom's Oscar to the hometown. Paul, Shelley, all kinds of people from the television show. And we just had, even though it was a sad event, we had such a nice time in Dennison, such like kind of this incredible small town. And one thing led to another. My mother's widow and a local journalist and some other people got together and decided to create the foundation. And within a couple of years, we had these annual festivals, and we had scholarship money. We had performing gala events where we were giving away money to kids going on to study in the performing arts. It grew and grew and grew. And then finally, we were able to afford to buy this whole complex. And as you'll see later, I'm not sure we'll be able to go down because the internet's bad, but my mother saved everything from her film career and the television show. So in the basement, we have incredible, temperature controlled archive. But during the festival, we had people in the business come from both coasts, New York and LA, week-long incredible courses, and then the gala at the end. And so after a while, we did handprints of some of the professors, some of the people in the business who came and visited. And so they're sprinkled around the main street in Dennison.
You mentioned Paul and Shelley, and to introduce to our audience, who were they? I know who they were. You can explain. Yes.
Yeah. Well, for those of you not familiar with the Donna Reed show, Shelley Fabre and Paul Peterson played Jeff and Mary Stone, Mom's kids, in the television show. Yeah, and they stayed very close friends up until my mother passed away. Even though the show was long over, they met for lunch probably at least once a month. Yeah.
And they were on the air 8 years. So you watched these children grow up on the program.
Yes. Like I said, my mother had 3 families: her family of origin, us kids, and then the TV show family.
Okay. Well, I think Robert is waiting for us.
Great.
All right, well, welcome back. We're underneath the marquee of the theater, actually, right now. I'm standing next to the recreation of Donna Reed's Hollywood Walk of Fame star, which is prominently displayed in front of the theater. And then directly to my right, your left, is the old Candy Kitchen. Originally, the Candy Kitchen was a building located on this site. When they built this theater, it was built by only German residents could build this theater. It was incorporated under native Germans only. They moved the actual building for the Candy Kitchen into the street. And then when they finished this structure, the Candy Kitchen moved into the new space, and that building was sold. It's somewhere in Crawford County.
Wow.
Just a little fun history fact there. Yeah. But we're going to go ahead and go through the main entrance here. So these doors are 107 years old. They're original to the building. And we're going to walk right into kind of what we call the Hollywood lobby. Mary will be talking a little bit more about some of the famous actors you're going to see around the space. But I'll let Aaron go ahead. And then Mary. Oh, yes, Mary, you wanted to talk about the proclamation there, didn't you?
Right. So as the video, Mom's 100th birthday was just January 27th. And Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa, I was in her office. It was great. And she read, and it's on if you go to donnareed.org, you can see the video. And she proclaimed January 27th as official Donna Reed Day. So we have this lovely proclamation. Honestly, it's about time, but there it is. We're really happy with that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Donna Reed Theater. Aaron, go on ahead. As you can see, we have multiple photos here around the lobby. And I believe Mary was going to share a story or two, or at least talk about these co-stars of Donna Reed's here. So Mary, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, well, we've got some, the Donna Reed fans in our audience probably already know, but Mickey Rooney. So my mother had a pen pal, Violet Lindsay, and they started writing to each other when they were 13 until my mother passed away. And one of the first letters that my mom wrote to Violet when she had signed her contract with MGM in 1941 is that Mickey Rooney asked her out on a date. And she said she was too busy. And I thought, yeah, boy, she dodged a bullet on that one. As lovely as Mickey Rooney wasn't he married like 8 times or something? Or
absolutely, yes.
So there's Burt Lancaster there, of course, and From Here to Eternity. That looks like Deborah Carr, good old Frank Sinatra. Mom and Frank Sinatra were not wanted by the director for From Here to Eternity. And then, of course, they both were the ones that ended up winning the Oscar. Rock Hudson, she was in a Western with him. Gun Fury, of course, she was in one of the Thin Man series, Shadow of a Thin Man, with Myrna Loy and William Powell. And is that Uncle Randy there, Randolph Scott?
Yep.
Yeah, he was a good family friend, and she was in, I can't remember the name of the Western. It was so strange because after she won the Oscar, with the exception of a couple of movies, Ransom and Scandal Sheet, she was in all B Westerns. Go figure.
Wow.
And that's one of the reasons why they went into television, because she got so frustrated with the roles. Anyway, yeah, so that's our lobby.
Yeah, and this was actually one of the first spaces that was renovated when we took over this building back in the 90s. actually the tops of these columns, that's where they had put in a drop down ceiling. So everything above that, all that cool ceiling work was not visible when it was turned into the Ritz Theater. So it's the German Opera House, becomes the Dennison Opera House, and then it's changed to the Ritz Theater. And it remains that way until we acquire the property. But moving further into the lobby here, we do like to point out that we still have the original ticket booth over here. And over on this side is the original coat closet, which is now a concession stand. And then a fun little fact about this door, this leads into the old candy kitchen. This was only put into place during the Great Depression. The theater needed to make more money, and at the time they were a little bit more highfalutin. They didn't let food and drink into the theater space. They needed money at this point, so they busted down this wall, put in that door, and then they let people bring in food just to kind of increase their revenue stream.
Robert, what is your attendance each year?
For the theater itself?
Yeah, for the museum.
Oh, I actually don't know that number off the top of my head. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a tough one too because of COVID and everything. So
right, but you're getting before COVID, you're getting people from around the world coming to your town.
Yep, we get some interesting guests in, and they always have a fun story about Donna. You know, usually connected to her show many times, especially of an older generation. I learned everything. I learned so much from those visitors.
Because I'm looking at some of the participants that have come on right now, and we've got people from Romania here.
Wow.
So it's kind of interesting, the draw that Donna is still pulling from around the world.
It's true.
Well, Mary, wasn't the show syndicated in like 25 countries?
It did very well in syndication. A fun little side note is that it did not show in Britain and England in the 60s because the family, because of Paul, was considered too rambunctious for British families, which is, you know, you do have to laugh at that. But yeah, I think also It's a Wonderful Life shows all over the world now. It's not, even though it's, you know, like the great American movie, I think everyone watches it all worldwide.
Well, the story is universal. There is, anybody can identify with it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, take us away, Robert.
All right, so we're going to enter the actual theater space, which is almost directly the same as it was when it was first constructed, minus some changes made to the wall spaces. But this theater was constructed for $80,000 back in 1913, 1914. Wow. So coming into the space here, I'll be walking backwards, so if you see me tumble, just give me a couple of minutes to recover. Essentially, everything on the ceiling here, once you get out from underneath the balcony, is original. The chandeliers are original. They lower via winches in the attic, which are fun to get to. The original floor of this theater was a tiered seating, which is still accessible. Still get to the tiered seating in the balcony. It was covered up when it was turned into more of a movie house back in the 40s and 50s. The columns were put in during our renovation. The renovation was going to cost $1.8 million. The community really rallied around Donna Reed and around saving this cultural cornerstone of the community. They brought that down to $1.3 million. So originally those columns were painted on the wall, and then we actually made columns outside.
Robert, is this a strictly a movie theater, or do you do live stage productions?
We have the ability to do movies and live shows, and usually we bring in anywhere from 4 to 6 live shows annually. That's the big ones. We do other smaller live shows. So our screen is actually behind the curtain here, of course. It moves back on tracks, so we can do live shows. We've done radio plays of It's a Wonderful Life and some other things on this stage. The theater actually extends another 35 feet above the ceiling in this space. That's our old fly space from when it was an active theater building. We had 15 screens that could be lowered, everything from an asbestos curtain for fires to a Greco-Roman background, and then some door and window cutouts. We're going to go up on the stage so you can kind of get a really good look at the entire theater space, where we have this platform. It goes across our old 2-foot deep orchestra pit. And then coming up on the stage here We'll give you a little bit of a panning shot, and then I just wanted to explain quickly why we became the Dennison Opera House from the German Opera House early in our history. Back during the World War I, World War II era, there was a lot of anti-German bias in the area. So the proprietors of this building, who were all of German descent, figured it was within their best interest to change the name of the Opera House to the Dennison Opera House to avoid that German association. At one point, German was banned to be spoken on the phone or in public in this area. And they even threatened to burn down the local German newspaper. Finneran was his name. That's how we got the Dennison Bulletin and Review. They eventually had to consolidate the newspapers after the German paper was forced to start publishing in English. But that kind of actually relates a little bit to Donna Reed and her name. And I'm gonna let Mary talk more about that while Aaron shows you the space. And then while Mary's doing that, I'll be walking us back out to the front of the building, and we'll be into the museum.
Awesome.
Hot dog.
Yeah. So yeah, we have so many of the celebrities from that time period. Names were drastically changed, but and Mom really never liked Reed. She thought it was a little cold, but Mullinger, I think, was just too Germanic, and they wanted to change it. At first, they called her Donna Adams. And then they realized there was another actress with the last name Adams. So when her first film was The Getaway, I think by the time the film was finished, she went from Donna Adams to Donna Reed.
Mary, you mentioned that the basement consists of a lot of the memorabilia that your mom saved over her career.
Yes.
Did she have original It's a Wonderful Life scripts down there?
Oh, I don't think we have a script from It's a Wonderful Life. We have a lot of scripts from the films, but I do not believe we have that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Her TV show, probably you have.
Yes. We have many of those, and it's also hard to tell in those days, like what they could keep and what would occur to her to keep. I mean, she's only 25, pretty early on in her career when she did It's a Wonderful Life. So, yeah.
Was Mom influenced at all by Lucy in terms of owning her own show and producing her own show and starring in her own show? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, I don't. I would assume yes, because Desilu was a few years before Todon. That was the name of Mom and Dad's production company, Tony and Donna. And I think they, like I said, she was so frustrated with the roles she was getting in the films. They really just didn't know what to do with her. So they tried. It was interesting. At first, they wanted to make her like a spy or like an elevator operator in the Chrysler building, and each floor would be a different story. There were all kinds of ideas. And then finally, I think we have it on the slide. They saw a picture. She was visiting the farm, and there's a colored picture. I don't know if you guys have it, but anyway, they saw
Aaron,
that.
Can you put that slide up, please?
Yeah, with her at the farm.
Slides that Robert sent us.
Yep. All right, here we go. Hold on one moment. There you go.
Yes, the slide image on the left. She was just visiting the farm, and it was a promo shot for some reason. That's my Aunt Karen holding the baby goat, my brother Tony, my brother Tim, my sister Penny. I'm not in the picture yet, but my dad had that photo on his desk, and somebody saw it and said, "Well, why doesn't she play a wife and mother? She's so good at that." And so hence that's what happened. Yeah.
Would you go to the next slide, Darren?
Oh God. Oh, geez. Yeah. Aw. Yeah. Well, I know I'm the youngest by like 8 years. So I think these were like TV guide pictures or something, but yeah, very sweet.
Yeah. And then, yeah. Next slide, please. So this is the early Donna Reed.
Very early. Gosh. It's interesting, she said that they would always test at when she was at MGM, they tested for hair, they tested for makeup, they tested for wardrobe. And we have these books, leather-bound books of these images of my mother where, just people don't look like that anymore. They're so incredibly well, put together and just kind of flawless. And, what happened was Grandma and Grandpa was kind of the beginning of the Depression, and they couldn't afford to send her to college. And she had an aunt living in Los Angeles. And so Aunt Mildred invited her to move in with her. And she attended Los Angeles City College. And like I said in the video, she really thought she would just be a teacher. And the last year of her school, LACC established a beauty contest. I think they still carry it on today. My mother entered the contest and won. And that got her picture in the LA Times, which I think you might have that as well. I don't know. I think Robert sent that.
Oh,
anyway.
I have that photo. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, on the left, that was a picture. I mean, she already looks like a movie star there, doesn't she? So that was the picture that appeared in the paper, and she got all kinds of calls from, modeling agents and Hollywood agents. And she said, okay, I have one more semester left. So she wanted to finish college in case the acting thing didn't work out.
Mary, we have a question. Could you tell us how your parents met?
Yes, my father was Jewish. He was originally from New Orleans, and then the family moved to Chicago. And then he moved to LA. He was very handsome. He looked like a Gershwin or something. He was quite handsome and wanted to make it as an actor, but he didn't. And he worked for the Feldman Agency. He became an agent, which was the top agency. So he was my mom's agent. And the first time he met her, he knew he would marry her. Problem was, she was already married. So that took some time. But yes, they met through the business.
Darren, would you put up the next slide that I had in there? So yeah. Which is the real Donna Reed?
Well,
or is she a hybrid of the two?
Yeah. Well, I don't know who that person is on the left, but the person on the right is definitely more familiar. And also, I was born in 1957, so the photograph on the right is from the 60s, and I grew up with the TV show. So that, to me, is, my mother really blossoming because she was in charge of her own career with a television show, and like that. So.
All right. Let's get to Robert, because I want to get into the museum.
Yeah.
Robert, are you there? Here we go.
Hey, everyone. We're going to go ahead and walk around the front of the building into the museum as you would enter if you're visiting, which we highly encourage you to do. A lot of good things are happening here. We've got some great volunteers like Aaron on the camera there. And they're really doing a lot of good work to make this space really just a tribute to Donna Reed. So our front window is always decorated. I think we do it about quarterly with different themes. Right now, it's really just celebrating her 100th. So you got a lot of original pictures here in the window. Some shots of her in high school, growing up around the area, stuff like that. There's the Donna Reed, or Donna Bell, as she was known here, baby picture. But we're going to go ahead and go into the museum space.
Robert, what did you say she was known as? She was known as what?
Donna Bell. That was her full name in this area. So Donna Bell Mullinger.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and go into the museum space. And I'll just kind of pinpoint some things of interest in here immediately, and then I'll let Mary tell some more stories, because that's what you're here for. We do have an exhibit board here that talks a little bit about her two most important films, From Here to Eternity and It's a Wonderful Life. We have some rotating exhibits. This one I'm sure Mary will want to talk about some more because we just did a big project. But this is about Donna Reed's time during World War II in her military correspondence. On the wall here, we have a very well-known print of Donna Reed that we actually have for sale at the museum. But kind of shows Donna Reed during her many stages of her life, kind of going from when she went to high school just down the street. Dennison High School is now Broadway Elementary School. That's where she first performed as well. But talks about her time as a V-girl, the courtship of Andy Hardy, some of her other films, of course, her time at the Oscar, and then the Donna Reed show. Moreover, here was Donna Reed's third husband, who was instrumental in helping to get the foundation started and getting the archive started. So he gets his own tribute wall here. And Mary, did you want to talk a little bit more about, we can show Violet's letters here on the stand, and we can also show some more of this exhibit too, but if you'd like to tell a story or two, we're happy to hold the frame for you.
Yeah, so I know in the video, so Mom passed away in 1986, and it wasn't until 2003. It's kind of a long story. There was a closet in the garage in her old home anyway. And so we had to break open the lock, and there was this huge trunk, and it looked like maybe the trunk that she moved from Iowa to LA in. And we opened it, and it had all these shoe boxes full of letters. And at first glance, most of the letters were, because Mom was the first to leave home, they were letters from Grandma and Grandpa. But when I looked more carefully through them, there were boxes full of letters from World War II soldiers. And none of us, knew about it. She didn't talk about it. I'm not sure why. I mean, I came so much later in her life. Her film career was over. And I think after World War II, because people participated in the war effort so deeply, probably didn't want to talk about it. But it was an incredible find. And it wasn't until about 2004 or 5 that I actually sat down and went through all of them and scanned them all at once. I didn't want to just read them, haphazardly. And the overwhelming feeling was just how important my mother was to representing the home front, like it said in the video. And I don't think, excuse me, that can be underestimated. The studio heads, thought of this pinup culture idea. And I think the Betty Grabels and the Rita Hayworths represented one thing, but my mother represented something else. And these letters are just so heartfelt. And
it must have been an emotional experience for you.
It was incredible. It was. And plus, I didn't really know that much about World War II. So I just feel like it's a huge influence, just, reminding these guys of what they're fighting for and getting them home alive. Yeah. So.
And the other important kind of letters that we have in Donna Reed are correspondence with lifelong
Robert, can you say that again? It's a little difficult to hear. Go ahead, say that again.
Yeah, no problem. So the other important collection of letters that we have here are about a 48-year exchange between Donna and Violet Kaufenauer, who was Donna's pen pal here locally. So we have some of those letters on display. So I think there's one here, like she describes her day at the Iowa State Fair in 1935. Or there's one here, she talks about the movie The Getaway and her name change, and she describes her 2 top thrills. So when you're in the museum, you can open it up, see the original of the letter. And she wrote long letters. Mary can probably tell you.
Yes.
That's a long lost art right now.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It truly is.
We just did an event down at the high school where Mom went to high school now. As Robert said, it was an elementary school. Letters to servicemen, the 5th graders. And what I didn't know is that kids don't learn cursive anymore in school. If they know how to write in cursive, it's because their parents taught them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of shocking, really.
Mary, are these letters, did you ever publish them, or are they online?
They are not published in the soldiers' letters, the World War II letters?
Yes.
Yes, I would love to publish them. But big publishing houses have a problem because the copyrights actually belong to the guys who wrote the letters. I don't really see that as a problem, but I would love to. I would love to publish them, yes.
Well, Mary, do you want us to walk along the awards wall here? We have a very special surprise at the end of this tour for everyone who's on here.
Yeah, let's definitely. Okay.
So over here we have Donna Reed's Hollywood Foreign Press Association Award, her TV Guide Awards, and her Oscar photos here as well. Mary, did you want to touch on any of these? Maybe about what she got the Hollywood Foreign Press Association Award for?
I actually don't know. That's terrible. But like I said before regarding the Oscar, Fred Zinnemann did not want her at all and made her, over and over and over screen tests. And Harry Cohn was very involved in From Here to Eternity because he had been the one who bought the rights to the book. And it's not really an audition, and Frank Sinatra to her former drama coach, Lillian Burns Sidney, who had moved from MGM to Columbia. And she just said to him, it doesn't get any better than that. So that's how she got hired. But she had to go to the editor because there weren't enough close-ups. He purposely didn't do enough close-ups of her. So she went to the editor instead of the director to have more close-ups done, and that worked. So anyway.
Well, oddly, the same with Wonderful Life. She wasn't the first choice either for that film.
No, well, she wasn't really very well known. Right. So
I think Jean Arthur, a favorite of Capra's, was already on Broadway doing a program. I think Ginger Rogers turned it down.
She did.
Which I'm glad she did.
Yes. Yes.
But I can't imagine anybody else that would have fit the part of Mary Bailey as well as Donna, because she was a small town girl. She fit in that.
Yeah.
Ginger Rogers, you look at her and you're thinking right away of Fred Astaire and that upscale world that they lived in. The same thing with Olivia de Havilland. She was mentioned also, and I didn't think she would fit the small town girl.
He had seen her in They Were Expendable because he was good friends with John Ford. And so Capra went to MGM to meet Mom, and he knew right away when he met her that she would be perfect as Mary Bailey.
I don't want to jump ahead, but I want to talk a little bit about Wonderful Life because we're running close here on time.
Okay.
On Wonderful Life, do you want to talk about the stone throwing scene at the Bailey House?
So they were getting ready for that scene, and they had hired a stunt double to throw the rock. And of course, Mom said, well, I had a pretty strong softball arm when I was in high school. So they didn't need the stunt double. And she actually, broke the glass on the first try. Yeah. And the company that made the original bell still makes them. So we have some original bells for sale. I mean, they're not original, but they're new, but it's made by the same company. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting backstory from It's a Wonderful Life because it was really the first movie and Jimmy Stewart and everyone had made after coming back from the war. Jimmy Stewart was a bomber pilot. He was away from Hollywood for years. Capra was making the Why We Fight series. So there was a lot of tension on the set because they weren't sure they had what it took to make movies anymore.
Darren, would you put up slide number 9?
Yep, you bet.
I read that Jimmy was the next one, please. Jimmy was very nervous about the telephone scene.
He was. When it was scheduled to be shot, he said, no. So they waited until he was ready.
Next slide, Darren.
Yeah, it's taking its time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he didn't want to shoot the scene. He kept putting it off.
And finally, when they were ready to do it, they set it up. And then he looked at my mother and said, should we rehearse it or should we just do it? And Mom said, let's just do it. And from what I understand, they got it on the first take.
Wow. Yeah, from what I read on this, he dropped half his lines.
Yeah.
And they improvised the scene.
Yeah.
And the script girl came over to Capra and said, because he said, great, cut. And he said, well, print. And she said, he dropped half his lines. And Capra said, did you see what we just saw? You don't need words when you have that kind of emotion.
Yep. Yeah, she must have learned a lot going from the MGM style to working with Capra, I think, for sure. But yeah, that's true. And I've even heard that, the censors were upset that they considered it too racy. So there were some parts that were removed. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, when you get down to it, it's Mary Bailey that saves It's a Wonderful Life at the end.
It's true. She saves it all through. Yeah.
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 So she was the perfect mom even back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, the next slide, Darren, what a huge change for her to expand her talent, to show her range by doing From Here to Eternity. And this role was totally foreign from Mary Bailey.
Well, she was so happy to get it for that reason, because she really had been typecast. So, and also she never wore makeup. And also I think she had something in common with Alma or Lorraine. They both kind of wanted a better life, and her, leaving Dennison and going to LA. So I think that's, kind of how she approached the character. But yeah, she loved it. And it was still frustrating years after that she was still kind of,
the girl next door.
Yeah.
Next slide, Aaron.
Yeah. Such an incredible movie. I mean, she's got so much. I mean, the last few scenes in that movie are, God, so strong. I mean, the last scene with Deborah Carr on the boat. I don't know that she really had any scenes with Frank Sinatra exactly.
They apparently were pretty close, though. Next slide, Darren.
Yeah.
Because when they won their Oscars, here's a couple of shots of them together.
Yeah.
I love that shot on the right. You could see the pride that they both have holding those statues.
Yeah. Incredible. I know. Well,
and the Oscar right now is in your museum.
Yes, my former housemate, as I like to refer to him. He is. Yeah, let's go back to Robert.
Yes, let's do that. There it is.
Hello, everyone, again. I am proud to present Donna Reed's Oscar, From Here to Eternity. We're so happy to have it in the museum today, and have it here for this special event. So definitely, we're going to let Aaron kind of walk around, get you all the angles. It's a lot heavier than it looks, too. I think it's that extra base they added on there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all those actors have really great upper body strength. But Mary, is there anything you'd like to talk about? I guess your old roommate here?
Yeah. Well, he had kind of an interesting patina over the years, but about 20 years ago, he was replated. So that's why he isn't looking extra specially good right now. But certainly for a long time, Mom had him, in the mantle in the living room. But, after a while, he kind of moved into, a different room, and he wasn't just like so obvious everywhere. But yeah, she was so proud and so happy. Yeah. She also said that working on It's a Wonderful Life was the most demanding, that Capra was demanding but very kind, but it was the most fulfilling work she'd ever had on a film. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So after she wins the Oscar, the work is there, but as you indicated, it's primarily B-Westerns that she's appearing in. And that's when she makes a decision to go to the next slide, Darren, that she's going to move into television.
Yep. One moment.
Yeah. You can take it away, Robert.
Oh, I was just, that kind of concludes my portion of it. I would like to say that the Donna Reed Theater, located in downtown Dennison, and the museum, of course, is open regularly 10 to 2, Monday through Friday, but we're also open by appointment. So if you ever have the chance, to come down this way, it's well worth your time to stop by. There's a lot more here to see, and we're in the process of adding even more over this summer. And then just to encourage you all, we are a nonprofit organization. So if you have the ability, I think Sal and Son are going to be putting the donation link there in the chat. Your support would really help us to keep this foundation going, not only for the museum and Donna's legacy, but also for our educational and performative, ability to bring bring performing arts to Dennison and to, of course, supply scholarships for the next generation of Donna Reeds in Hollywood. And the rest of this I'll leave to all of you. I'll still be here, but we'll go ahead and go dark. But on behalf of the Donna Reed Board of Directors and myself, just thank you so much for doing this tour today. And I hope
Robert, you did an exceptional job. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Not easy doing what you're doing.
Yep.
Thank you so much. And
Thanks,
we will link to your donate page in a moment.
Yep, we just dropped it in the chat.
Great. Yeah. All right, that next slide was her move into television, Darren.
Yep.
I just wanted to do a brief moment here. There they are.
Right. So there's, the older, when they adopted Patty. So Patty Peterson, their photograph in the picture was Paul's sister. And she really wanted to be on the show. And my dad was like, well, you're not old enough. So the minute she was old enough, she got on the show. And it was good because it was a good segue because Shelley, was done with the show and was moving on to, I think, the Elvis movies and such. And she came back a few times, but I think by season 6 or so, Shelley was gone.
And the next slide I find really interesting because your mom hired Ida Lupino to be a director on her program.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. Nobody knows that. My mother just, she went through the MGM system and she just really understood the business. And she also that's why the quality of the show is so good. Yes, she hired Ida Lupino. I think she directed 1 or 2 episodes. They hired a blacklisted couple to write for them. And in fact, my dad wanted to offer the husband an executive producing position and he was too afraid to accept it. So he said no.
And I can see how Ida and Donna have so much in common.
Yeah.
Because Ida, she abandoned her acting career essentially to become a director, one of the first women directors in Hollywood.
She had to have been. I mean, except for all the gals who were busy in the silent film era. But yes, this new for television. Yes, yeah.
And I just love that photo on the right.
Yeah, that is a great photo.
She looks so radiant.
It's funny because Mom grew up on a farm that the work was equal between the men and women, unless obviously, it was just so cumbersome. So I feel like she had this idea of equality on the set too. I don't think she sat there necessarily and said, well, let's hire Ida Lupino because she's a woman. We're hiring her because she's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a question. Who's the third woman in the photograph?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't tell either.
It looks like Della Street, Jay says. Any thoughts?
I don't know. She might be a guest star in the episode they're working on.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is from much further down the line when she was on Dallas.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of a painful experience, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right, Darren, you can take it to the first slide again. And thank you so much, Mary. Do you have any well, we're going to go to your donation page, but we're going to also link you. Darren, you want to do some of the links right now?
Yep, we have all of that. Hold on one moment, because we do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So we're just wondering, do you know how long your parents were married?
25 years.
25. Wow, fast. There you go.
Yeah.
Did your mother have a favorite film of her own or any favorite movies that she liked to watch?
Oh, boy, that's a good question. Well, I think she had to have a soft spot in her heart for It's a Wonderful Life because, like I said, it was so satisfying. She almost thought she would not work after that film. And, of course, it was painful, too, because it didn't do well. It did well with the critics, but, it didn't do well at the box office. So, she passed away in 86, and that was kind of right when it was starting. Well, and it was very popular on television. So she was very happy about that.
She was able to see the resurgence of the film.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd also like to say here, we have a lot of comments, just so many thank yous, Mary, for your time. And here I wanted to read, I appreciate Mary's commentary, clear and just wonderful. I'm loving this.
Thank you.
That was Barbara Hale. that was in the photograph.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
From the old Perry Mason series.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There it is.
We probably have some people in the audience who know more about my mother than I do.
There's so much. It encompasses so many years. It's hard to know everything.
Yeah.
Is anybody else in your family associated with show business?
No. I think, growing up with two parents in the business, we're all very talented, but not in that way.
Mm-hmm. What was your profession?
Well, I like music and I play a few instruments and, like that. I didn't really have a profession exactly, but
yeah.
Wow. You sound like us.
Yeah. What do we do?
No, this is great. I mean, I didn't know what to expect, but I love your questions. I love how insightful you were, and you weren't just asking. I get a lot of, questions that aren't that fun to answer. So I really appreciate the style of your questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary. I appreciate it. Okay, Darren, let's see some of the...
All right. Yep. Let's wrap this up. There's also one more thing from the chat I'll mention. There's a definitive demand for cursive to come back. Yes, certainly. You struck a chord. There's a lot of talk in there about
Let's
cursive.
Start the movement.
Yes.
Yeah. And Darren has two very young children. We're going to start doing that soon.
That's right. That's right.
Well, look, I mean, if for no other reason, how are you going to read the credit cards in the very beginning of It's a Wonderful Life? They're all in cursive.
You're right. That's
all the classics. So many classic cinema films are in cursive, the credits and the graphics.
Wow, you can get the whole Donna Reed series online.
Yeah. Yes.
So here we have In Search of Donna. Both of these recommendations come from Mary, so thank you for these. In Search of Donna, and that's from Jay Foltz. And we also have Donna Reed Show, a pictorial memoir. And of course, you can find these on Amazon, but we'll be sending them over. John will send his recap and thank you letter later this week. So you'll be able to get those.
For those that don't remember Paul Peterson, he was an original Mouseketeer, going back to the Walt Disney days.
Yeah.
Oh, Mary, another question. Is your family farm still around?
It's still there, and there's a plaque acknowledging that it's a farm, but it's not owned by the family anymore. But yes, it's still a working farm.
A working farm. Wow. All right. Yep. Here's the important one. DonnaReed.org. That's where you want to be. Head on over there. There is a tremendous amount of information. This is the video we watched at the top, put together wonderfully. Lots of information, and this is just on the celebrating her birthday. But here, if you go home, tons more to learn about her and her career. You can also stay in touch, join their messaging. But we encourage you, while you're on that site, please donate. Please go over there, add some donations, be generous. It's a wonderful organization.
Darren, I should mention, since we began doing this, next week is our 1-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I can't emphasize how important it is to support these small museums, simply because two of them have already closed up in the year that we've been doing this because of the pandemic.
Sure.
So even if it's $5, it helps the museum.
Yeah.
I don't want to turn into Jerry Lewis here. I just want you to think about it. They can use every penny.
Thank you. If you're following Sal, you can do so on Instagram. We're over there. Always fun to see some behind-the-scene pictures. You can follow Sal on Facebook. Of course, we're also live streaming there. Thank you to everybody who's watching. Sal has been on Twitter, tweeting up a storm. I see Chaplin and Houdini. Is that Houdini? Yeah, it's Houdini.
That's it.
Chaplin and Houdini today. So take a look. But if you want to sign up for more programs like today's, as well as our Salathon next week, you can do that at salstgeorge.com. Head over there. And that's it. Next week, May 17th, raising money for celebrity museums around the world. Sign on, 24 hours of fun. We have more virtual road trips. Today was Donna Reed Museum. We're going to the Red Skelton Museum. We're going back for a new exhibit, When Red Was Richard, and learning more about his younger days. We have the Ginger Rogers Museum coming up in July, and the Molly Brown House Museum in Denver, Colorado in July 26th. So lots of programming over here. Go on over, sign up, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everybody. Aaron as well for your camera today. Very well done. Thank you, Pop. Another good one.
My pleasure. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too, John. Bye, everybody.